Well, welcome back to another episode of Fort Wayne Footy. It was a big week for the two teams that we've been following, Fort Wayne FC and 1927 SC, as both took away wins this weekend. Fort Wayne FC on the road against the Dayton Dutch Lions with a 2-0 win, and the 1927 SC at Fort Wayne Sport Club against Grand Rapids SC with a 1-0 victory in the 94th minute. A walk-off goal, a walk-off win for our hometown team. It's fantastic games that we got to see on YouTube, and one of us got to actually see live. We'll talk about that as the evening goes. Welcome to the program. This is episode 4 of Fort Wayne Footy. I'm joined by two of our co-hosts tonight, Autumn DeMott and Dustin Diller. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thanks.
Hey, Brian, before we get started on, talking soccer business, I just have to follow up. And those who have followed through in our episodes, one after the other, you know that Brian left everybody kind of with a punch to Micah on the last episode. At the end.
Were you asked? Nobody asked you this question, Autumn.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. The audience is waiting for this question, Brian. They want to know because you said Micah had to pick his favorite child because he was in between sports.
No. I just asked him which child he loved the most.
But you were basically asking him to choose his favorite kid. But rumor on the street was you had to turn around and do the same thing because of weather cancellation and the game getting rescheduled.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Tell us about this. Who's your favorite child, Brian?
I love all three of my kids the same, equally. Okay. And only 2 of them were involved this weekend. All right. So here's what happened because you teed me up for this, Autumn. Here's what happened. We're in Indianapolis for the State Cup tournament, the 2009 boys, Fort Wayne Sport Club, where my son plays. They had a 7:15 game on Friday night that got rained out. Like storms blew through. It was nuts. We were at Grand Park, and there was lightning flashing all over the place for about 20 minutes before they canceled games. I've never seen this before. They wanted to get the games before us to a point where they could call the game and it would be over instead of having to replay it. So we're playing with lightning all around us. Nothing hit the ground. As soon as something hit the ground, they called it, right? It was nuts. But that's when the wind hit. Trash cans blew over, and they were just rolling across the field. Like, if people were still on the field, they would be flying. Like, these trash can lids would have knocked people off their feet. It was bonkers. So because of that, our 7:15 game got canceled. So we had our second game, which became our first game at 10 a.m. the next morning. They rescheduled our 7:15 game Friday to 6 o'clock Saturday, which means I did not make it home. My older son was playing in the sectional championship for volleyball here in Fort Wayne, and I did not make it home for his game. But it was circumstantial. I had to make a choice. It wasn't because I loved one or the other. It wasn't Micah's situation. Come on now.
I would probably strongly disagree on this one.
Maybe you're right. No, but here's my son did win the sectional championship, which I was pretty confident in that I would see him next weekend in regionals because we are not playing anymore in State Cup. We'll talk about that as the show goes as well. It was a great tournament, but it was a tough one. So thank you, Autumn. Thank you, Autumn, for throwing me under the bus. I know how it feels now, and I'll wait for my opportunity to throw you there too. Dustin, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I don't even know where to go from there. It's good to be back. Sorry I was gone last week. I was at Nate Bargatze with the wife. So
nice,
but I'm back this week and ready to talk some soccer.
Which of your kids do you love the most?
Oh yeah, that will not be answered. All of them equally.
Oh,
33
There you go.
when you say that will not be
33.3%.
answered, that means there is one, Dustin. And hope you're not watching tonight.
Those are your words, not my words.
Oh, I enjoy putting words in people's mouths. There you go. Micah is unable to join us tonight. Last minute, he had something come up and was unable to join us. So we will get his answer to that question maybe next week. So anyway, let's talk some soccer. It's been a while. We've been going for 5 minutes now talking about our kids and which ones we love the most. Let's talk about some soccer that happened this weekend. Before we do that, we do want to thank our sponsor, FW22. They're a 501c3 nonprofit. They're organized to facilitate community involvement and the support and assistance of veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, while simultaneously educating on suicide prevention and mental illness. So thank you, FW22, for your support of this program, your support of the soccer community, and your support of veterans dealing with some pretty serious stuff. So we appreciate all the work that you do to support veterans and support us here at Fort Wayne Footy. Fort Wayne FC had a match we talked a little bit about last week, gave you a little preview against the Dayton Dutch Lions, and it was in Dayton. So Fort Wayne FC traveled for this match. They come away with the 2-0 victory, a goal in the 14th minute by Mamadou Diarra.
I was waiting. I was like, who's going to pronounce this name? It's an amazing name.
Yeah, it is. It is Mamadou Diarra in the 14th minute. So an early goal, put him on the front foot for the rest of the game. And then Kyle, I think I need to look at the pronunciation there, Olivero, in the 69th minute with just the dagger that finished it off, 2-0. Dustin, you were able to watch some of this game. I watched some of the highlights. It was hard to watch a little bit. I think there was, my understanding, we'll get some information from our guest here soon, that there was some confusion with the camera and who was running the camera and all of that in Dayton. So those things happen, but the broadcast wasn't easy to watch. You could listen to it just fine. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get to see too much of it. Dustin, what did you see in that match as you were watching, along with the MLS match that you were watching on your TV?
It was simultaneous. I had one on my phone, one on TV. No, it was a good match. I went into it. We had our predictions 2 weeks ago. I went into it knowing that we've beaten Dayton last mm-hmm. year. But every time we played them. Okay. And so I felt like we dominated the match predominantly. Most of the game we had possession. They had a few good shots on goal, but Briscoe he was just like he always is, lights out. So to come away with another shutout is great for him. It was difficult to watch. I missed the first goal, and then the second goal I saw but didn't see. So it was on my phone, zoomed out, difficult to see, but heard all of the commotion, heard the commentary, and got excited, but I couldn't really tell what was going on. So
yeah, it was
difficulties.
Yeah, for sure. And again, those things happen. No shade to Dayton. Like, I know that stuff happens. And to be honest, I understand that these teams in USL2 are on really tight budgets. Mm-hmm. So their broadcast teams, their social media teams. I did meet with some of the front office staff at Fort Wayne FC this last week, which was fantastic. They've been super supportive of the podcast, and we want to be really supportive of them, and just understood a little bit more of the business of the team and the league. And teams don't have a lot of money to spend in a lot of places. And so we're blessed in Fort Wayne to have the team that we have in the front office that we mentioned maybe on the first show. I know we talked about the ambition of our front office staff that wants to grow this team, that wants to grow the game, and they're willing to put the money out there to do it. We've got a really solid broadcast team that they're still working some things out early this season, but we're lucky to have who we have in this USL2 division as we move up to USL1. The play that I saw, it was coming off the second goal. The ball was pinging around. They're holding possession, and a ball that was played, I believe it was the left back. I didn't catch who it was. I obviously couldn't see it on screen, the number or the name. Plays a beautiful ball from the left side of the field, outside of the right foot, breaks about 3 lines, cuts between the right back and the center back, all the way to where the right back was. And that's when Oliveira runs into space and just takes it a couple touches and puts it in the back of the net. It was a pretty ball. Again, you couldn't see much, but you could see how pretty that ball was played and the trajectory of it. It was fantastic. It was a great finish. Briscoe, again, like you said, with the shutout, fantastic. First official game of the season. Autumn, let me ask you, as a player, you're out there, you've got the nerves, right? You're playing in your first official game. You've played a friendly already, maybe a couple scrimmages. Your first official game in league play. And you come away with the victory. Like, does that set the tone for your season, or is that just a one-off game? Like, we won, let's put it behind us, or is that we're on the right foot, let's just keep the truck moving?
I think at least for me personally, it was always okay, let's keep going. That set the tone. We got to keep that momentum and build off of that. And I would say as a coach, even I see that a lot. I think having that win first one off, that counts. I think it does set the tone in a way for a season. So I'm excited to see them build off of it.
Yeah. As a player, as a coach, you're seeing this. What are you coaching your team up? Like, hey, we just took the first one. We took it decisively 2-0 in our friendly, 2-0 in our opening league match. What are you telling your team after that first season game?
I would probably be something like, okay, let's build this. Let's take this momentum and keep that going for the next game. But I don't know if this is just because I was kind of taught this growing up from my coaches, but it was always like, especially when it came to state cup finals, as a goalkeeper, I'd always have a coach say, wipe it clean, man. Like, yeah, the last game we won, but this is a different game. So you got to keep that mentality, build that momentum for this game, but this is a clean slate. You got to come out how you did last game. And so for me, I feel like I've kind of adapted that coaching style in a way, like, okay, yeah, you can keep this momentum coming, but this is a new game. It's 0-0. You got to play like you want to win it. I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. No, that's why I asked. I think it's sometimes it's different as a player than as a coach. Like,
it is,
as a player, like, yeah, we just won the game. We're going to keep going. We're going to win every game this season. And as a coach, you got to be, I think, a little bit more level-headed. Like, this was a great start to the season, but we've got a long way to go to finish this thing out, right? Yeah. So you talk a little bit differently. You coach. You talk to your team a little bit differently in the way you prepare mentally and things for the next game potentially. So great game on the road. Fort Wayne FC played Dayton Dutch Lions. They're coming home they're on the road again next week at Lexington SC. We're going to talk a little bit about Lexington SC, but we're going to bring a guest on the show right now who is a friend of mine that we gosh, I'm seeing him backstage, and this will be a fun one. Our guest here is a friend of mine. We met through Cincinnati Soccer Talk. He is the brains behind the operation right now, the man in charge at CST, and I just do his bidding. His name is Dustin Diller. He's a fan of the game. He's a fan of soccer. He's a fan of all of it. But more importantly, he's a fan of lower level leagues that I don't know as much about. And maybe you do, maybe you don't. We're going to welcome Dustin Diller to the program. Here he is. Justin.
Hey, everyone.
My friend.
Let's go.
Enough scarves
Let's go.
Yeah. Which one do you want today?
Are those all your USL2 scarves? Is that what you're wearing?
These are USL2. These are all teams that have a USL2 team. They're not particularly like specific to USL2. Some of these are obviously USL, somewhere in the latter kind of deal. But yeah, huge fan. Still waiting on a few. I definitely want to get Fort Wayne FC one.
Hey, we'll make sure that happens. We'll make sure that happens. Yeah. We've been promised gear from other teams, and when we get that gear, we will pass some Fort Wayne FC gear on to our guests and our friends. So, so you can see by what he's wearing there, I'm not just saying that this guy loves lower league soccer, USL soccer. He actually does. Justin, can I ask you, when I saw you backstage, you had a hat on. What was that?
That's a gem right there. That's a USL Super League hat. It was the inaugural match for.
Oh wow!
So they did, of course, they did the hard hat right for the new stadium.
Okay.
Inaugural match for Lexington SC's stadium opening. So it was super fun. I was amazed I got the opportunity to do it. Having 2 young kids, it's really hard to get out to matches and stuff like that. But for context, I grew up in Lexington. I spent the better part of my life in Lexington, 25 years. And when I moved up here, obviously FC Cincinnati had started up here as being in Cincinnati. And then I was like, man, it would be so awesome when I go back during the summers, because we still spend time with the family, for Lexington to have a club like this, right? Like to have that kind of community. And then just a few short seasons ago, man, the wheels got started rolling.
Yeah. How about that? So I just want to clarify something you said. You spent the better part of your life in Lexington. You just meant you spent the most time there, because now the better part of your life is happening in Cincinnati. Correct? Is that? I just wanted to clarify.
Better part. Yes,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Play on words for sure.
Fantastic. Well, Justin, it's really good to have you. I know we get to talk a lot of times about soccer in Cincinnati. I know you've been pretty dialed into what's happening in the world of USL and USL 2. You've shot me stories for the last couple of years about what's happening with Fort Wayne FC. Like as a stadium's being built, I see it on the news. I see it come across my feed, and as soon as I do, I also see it coming through from Justin Blair. So this is a guy that really is dialed in. He's interested in what's happening, and he's from Lexington, which is why I wanted to bring him on the show, because that's the next game for Fort Wayne FC. Before we get to the Lexington game, though, Justin, we know you're a fan of USL teams, USL 2 teams, and all amateur sports that you can get your hands on and watch, right? Yeah. What is it about the lower tiers of professional or amateur soccer that really attract you?
So for a little bit of backstory, I covered collegiate football and basketball for about 16 years. I was really fortunate as a young writer to be able to get an opportunity to cover college football and basketball. So, I got to see the biggest, the highest of highs, the 100,000 seat stadiums and stuff like that. It was really awesome. I got an opportunity to join Cincinnati Soccer Talk and covered FC Cincinnati. And it's a very sterile professional league, right? There's a world-class stadium venue. Players are, professionals in their own right. They tell their own story on social media and stuff like that. But I was thinking to myself, I'm new to this soccer community. I know there are a lot of different leagues and different levels and stuff. So last year for CST, I was like, I'm going to start a new series that's just soccer in our area, right? I want to kind of tell the story of some of these lower leagues. I've heard about them, I've seen some of the stuff on social media, but I didn't know a whole lot about them, right? Going to a match, meeting with fans and stuff like that. So I hit the road last year, and oh my gosh, like it is, I'm not hating on FC Cincinnati or the MLS or anything like that. I'm not trying to start a war here, but just going to communities like Indy 11 and seeing the family atmosphere that are at those matches, right? I mean, you got generations of fans that are in the stands that are really enjoying themselves on a Saturday evening at IUPUI Stadium. And then you get when you go down to Lexington, they're building this brand new thing up. Like no one in Lexington is that big of a soccer fan, right? It's a basketball town, right? A collegiate basketball town. So they're coming around to the idea, but it's really cool to see that organic growth through it. And I just like that aspect the most about lower league, non-league, lower league soccer matches, is that the personal relationship between the fan base and the club is bar none. And I think I would be remiss to say that Fort Wayne from afar looks like one of the best in all the tier systems in the US soccer.
Yeah, I remember the early days, and I've referenced this a couple times, the early days of FC Cincinnati being in USL and the ownership bringing in, guys like Jeff Birding from the Bengals to really get the marketing and everything off the ground. And I see Fort Wayne doing that on the scale that we can do it, bringing in guys from different sports teams, minor league sports teams here in our town, gathered together to build something pretty amazing here. So it's an ambitious ownership group. It's an ambitious coach that, from what we're told, recruits for the next level. Like, he's not recruiting for USL2, he's recruiting for next year. And so the guys that are on the pitch now playing know that they're playing for a spot potentially when they move into the pro ranks. So it's a pretty fun environment. Honestly, the closer I get to it, the more I understand what they're doing and how they're building this thing. And it has a lot of echoes of what we saw Cincinnati build there. I don't know that this will ever be an MLS town. It's a much smaller city, but the ambition is there to continue to grow the sport and grow the team and grow the fan base. And that's why we're doing what we're doing here at Fort Wayne Footy.
The thing that's important about Fort Wayne, again, like I'm saying, I haven't smelled the grass in Fort Wayne. I haven't been able to
come on up, man.
I need to, man. That's a huge bucket list one. But they did the right things at the level they're at. That's what I'm saying. If you're at USL2, be the best USL2. Go out there and really advertise yourself in the best way. Engage the community. Build professional. I call them. I mean, they're amateur players, but I call them professional level players, right? You're going out there and the mindset, the coaching, the regiment of the staff. I know that, summer league can be fun. It can be exciting for the players to come back and see each other and really kind of have that, almost that relief, right? That no more pressure and stuff like that. But Fort Wayne's kind of the exception to the rule because of the standard that they've built. And I don't think people appreciate that enough. And that's a big part of the reason why. I mean, you got the financial investment with building a new stadium, but I think what impressed the USL the most about Fort Wayne is the fact that they've done the things right where they were.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's been fun to watch and get to know that group of owners, the players, the front office staff. Yeah, they're doing the right things, and they have ambition to continue to do the right things, including building a fan base, a supporters group that's not part of the team, but there is a supporters group, Three Rivers Regiment, that we interviewed Christina on our first show, Christina Copeland on our first show, and there is a group of people that really want to get behind this team and really do get behind this team. With the banners, I don't know if you would consider them a tifo yet. Like, they're not that huge, but they're large banners that they bring out to every game. Players get to sign them when they do something, score a goal, get a shutout, whatever. They're just building a fun environment and a fun atmosphere in Fort Wayne, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Now, Justin, thanks for the conversation about Fort Wayne. I do think it's important that our fans hear this, that someone outside of Fort Wayne recognizes what's happening in Fort Wayne because things are going so well here and we're doing things right here. I want to talk about Lexington's too, but again, I want to push that just for a minute because we just played the Dayton Dutch Lions. And I know you have some connection. You followed a little bit of the Dayton Dutch Lions in recent years. Did you see any of the match this last weekend? And if so, what did you see? What did you take away from it?
I think if you were like most, I think Fort Wayne fans can probably appreciate this, but if you could make out what was going on behind the camera, that was probably
that was hard. That was hard.
To give you the picture, I had Hellas Real Up on the big screen. I had King's Hammer women's soccer match going on, and then I had that over there, and I was like, what is going on there? But they're just like anybody, like they're going through a little bit of a transition with their social media and their communication staff. So we'll give them a little slack on that. I messaged them half jokingly, like, can you just draw what's going on the campus? And I got a good laugh from them. But no, they for me, it looked like Fort Wayne was just in total possession of the ball, right? I think that really they capitalized on some of those transitions. I'd be remiss. I don't recall his name, to be honest with you. I think it was your winger. That was the one that was really advancing and putting those pressures on Dayton Dutch Lions in space.
Was it Oliveira? He's the guy that scored his second goal.
Yeah. He was there. There was a couple instances where I was looking at the blur of white and the blur of orange, and at least shout out to Lucas Kilmeyer, who was doing the play-by-play for them. It was a big help that he was at least providing audio on the situation. But yeah, I think I felt like Fort Wayne just kind of reestablished themselves going into a new season. Then everybody is going to circle that match, no matter who you are in USL 2, as that is our match that we have to win and take at least some points if we want to survive in the standings. So I think Dayton Dutch Lions just kind of got overwhelmed. They're kind of going through a transition in roster. It's a funny thing, USL 2, right? Mm-hmm. You're kind of tied to, not only are you committed to the players that grew up through your youth programs, but you're also tied to the turnover that's going on at the collegiate level, right? So you're getting Dayton Flyers and you're getting Wright State players, but now we have this awesome thing in collegiate athletics called the transfer portal. So no one knows who anybody is, and they constantly change. So USL 2 has really got to find their home with that, anchoring themselves to local teams.
Yeah. So you definitely are tied into USL 2, Dayton Dutch Lions. You know, Lou, you mentioned Lucas. We'll hope to get him on the show here soon. Many of the guests that we've had, or many of the guests that we hope to have on the show, are guys that Justin has actually connected me with. They've been either part of Cincinnati Soccer Talk before, or they're guys that he's connected with through his years of sports writing and journalism and all that stuff. So appreciate you, Justin, for connecting us there. Lucas is one who does play-by-play for the Dayton Dutch Lions. So my hope, just for those who are listening later or watching live now, is that we can get some of these guests on when these teams come to town, so that we know. I don't know how many Fort Wayne FC fans travel to Dayton, or travel to West Virginia later in the season, or travel and follow the team. But when these teams come in, I definitely want us to know who we're playing against and who's going to be out on the field and who we're watching. So Justin, thanks for hooking us up there. Let's talk a little bit about Lexington and your connection there. Dustin, I'm going to toss it to you.
Yeah, so when you look at our next game that Fort Wayne FC is playing, and you look at this last game and how they dominated, how do you see that? Tell us about Lexington. Tell us about what we should expect. Is it going to be a different game? Is it the same, pace of play? Talk to us a little bit more about what you see in that team, so we can know what to expect.
Yeah, so Lexington, very much I anticipate, right? They played one match so far in their history at USL 2. I would anticipate
a brand new team, Lexington SC,
and there's multiple in USL 2, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you have West Virginia just joined. Yep. You have Kings Hammer, Columbus just joined. It's just like it's so hard to keep up with it. It's like I gotta get up to it. But if they're going to be anything like the USL championship side, the Lexington SC, which I imagine they are, because it's a feeder. It's kind of a feeder system, right? They're going to be a very different opponent than Dayton Dutch Lions. Dayton Dutch Lions does total football. I mean, they are all over you, whether they got the guns to do it or not, right? They play their system. That's how they play. Lexington SC, they do a lot of building through the back and really trying to capitalize on the wings of your team and trying to push up the ball in those instances. It reminds me a lot of a club that's kind of somewhere around here. I think that's Lexington FC, or you could say it's FC Cincinnati light there, but that's the kind of style they've kind of built their opportunities off of defensive play, right? They're not pressing you heavily, but they're really trying to get out there on the wings rather than just trying to do lob passes, kind of those indirect plays that lead to goals. And I think that they have built we're just now. I mean, this is another one of those you kind of have to laugh about it, right? So 2 days ago, they finally solidified the roster of Lexington. So we're all just like trying to scramble to dissect what's going on. I know that there's a great podcast out there called Crane's Lexington, or Crane's Lex, that does it's Tyler Crane, who does a great job covering all things Lexington SC. And I know in the coming days, when we get through the congestion, I know Super League's just ending, we should have a better understanding. But that's how I anticipate Lexington SC playing. It's kind of what they did against Columbus, right? They waited for those opportunities, then they pushed out on the wings and attacked centrally.
Yep. And so right now, Fort Wayne FC stands atop the division, and Lexington SC is just behind them. So this is 1 and 2. I think they're the only two maybe that played yesterday that had opportunity to win games. So Fort Wayne is ahead on goal differential right now. They both have 3 points. Fort Wayne wins 2-0. Lexington wins 1-1 in their game against Kingshammer Columbus yesterday. And so should be a good match. It'll be interesting to see how they play. Justin, you had mentioned earlier today, like, they just announced their team. Was that just today on social media, or was that 2 days ago? Is that what you
2 days ago? It was like,
that's
so
wild.
If you didn't know that USL 2 and what Lexington SC was doing behind the scenes, like if you weren't a dialed in, locked in fan, this is like complete shock
out of nowhere.
Like, yeah, because you're like, wait, now there's a third league? And they did it in like the most Lexington SC way, right? They just did a social media post like, here's what USL 2 is and stuff like that. They do such a great job. I'm not going to knock the guy. They do, Emily, all the people over at Lexington SC, they do a great job with what they have. It's just, they feel like they have the chassis and the engine of a Lamborghini, but they didn't put tires on it, right? So it's great, but it's not going to go anywhere if we don't start, engaging it. But you kind of have a situation right now where they're trying to catch up with all the things that are going on, and we'll see how that goes. I imagine, I think it's well documented, Lexington hasn't had the best attendance in USL Championship or in Super League. So I'm hoping that they can find a more a better way to sell this particular product, or at least be able to find those contracts within this to be able to do it. Because it's just kind of, it just seems like it's like an afterthought right now.
Yeah. So you talk about attendance there in Lexington. Give us a picture of what that looks like. How many people? They're building a new stadium. I know Fort Wayne FC is building one up to an 8,000 seat stadium. Where, I know some people are wondering, will we get 8,000 people at a stadium next year? And I think, as you said, as you pointed out, Fort Wayne FC is doing things the right way, that I don't see an issue with 8,000 people coming out to games next season. Lexington, what are they building? What do you expect to see at their USL championship level? And then a team in a city, maybe a related question, in a city that you've identified to us, and we most likely know it as a basketball city, to have a USL championship and now a USL 2 team. Do they have the fan base to support those two levels?
No. The answer is no. I don't know where. I know that they have the academy, and the academy plays in UPSL, or I think they do USL Academy. Actually, sorry, let me go back on that. They do USL Academy. So there is some kind of push to get more development within, right? Because right now it's kind of a scramble to try to get competitive football on the pitch, right? So being able to go for the future. And that's what this club was founded on. This is a combination of two major, huge soccer programs in Central Kentucky region, Commonwealth FC and Lexington FC. And they just merged together into this professional unit called Lexington SC. They brought in some people that knew how to start a professional soccer team. They have a beautiful stadium. But unfortunately, the attendance is probably not going to be there because of the way, I'm not going to say because of the way Lexington is, because like there is definitely an element of Lexington is all University of Kentucky basketball, and anything else that's not happening is irrelevant, right? The Legends, which is a AAA baseball team, they were really fun and spunky for a few years, and then it dropped off. They had a lower league soccer or a hockey team that went away, indoor football league that went away. It's just they really, really, really hang their hat on that university downtown. But speaking of which, that's probably the biggest reason why Lexington SC hasn't succeeded, because originally the idea was to build a stadium downtown Lexington, right where the big university is,
central,
right there where the bar district, everything. It was beautiful. The city approved it. Everything was a go until the local newspaper published the story, and everyone lost their mind, because the lot that they were going to build it in is a parking lot for the University of Kentucky basketball arena. So people lost their marbles. Like, are you going to lose all this parking? Because
way to make people mad. Yeah. Entire fan base takes their parking away.
So they got bounced around. They started just 3 seasons ago. They got bounced out to Georgetown, because even though they have this nice, pretty University of Kentucky healthcare sponsorship right there, the University of Kentucky wouldn't even loan out their soccer pitch for them.
Oh man,
insane. It's a summer competition. Like, you could have made that work, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't want to go into the contract, so they got bounced in an entirely different county. It was about a 45-minute drive away from Lexington as their inaugural season. And to their credit, they had about 1,000, 2,000 fans come out for those matches.
Wow.
But the team really, really sucked.
Yeah.
And they were terrible. But let's just be honest, money talks, right?
Yeah.
So USL knew the ownership. The ownership is very wealthy. I think the ownership got their money in insurance, and now they're investing in the horse farming industry. So they're just loaded with cash, and they're really, really passionate about soccer. The guy said the owner, when he was a kid, they had built multiple soccer pitches on their farmland, right? And so that he's just a nut for soccer. He's going to pump money into this until infinity.
Well, and sometimes that's what it takes, right? Is an ownership group that's passionate about the sport. Dustin, you were about to say something.
I was just going to say that was going to be my question. Is so if you're struggling and you're not going to tell everyone that you have a team in USL 2, what's the drive behind it? What's the why come up with the team? Why put it in USL 2 when you've got what was the thought process, do you think, in relation? You think it was just
they got the right I want to say they got the right people. They just, like I said, it's like trying to put the boat together while you're out on water, right? It's like they have the right people there. The ownership group is completely committed, wanting to pump money into this. They built this gorgeous new stadium right there on the edge of Lexington. And the facilities are incredible. They've done everything right. They got good contracts. They've been smart with their money. They've been able to navigate the USL system to somehow go up from, you finish bottom of the table 2 years in a row, and you get promoted to USL Championship.
Is that how Pro Rel works? Is that how it's going to work? This is the opposite of how
this is in a Mario screen.
Because I know that's happening in 2028. Pro Rel's coming to USL in 2020. I just wanted to make sure we understood that it wasn't the bottom teams that get promoted typically. That just happens in Lexington because it's a basketball town, and what the heck, right?
Yeah, just money. And you also, there really is good investment in trying to make regional competition fun, right? So you already have, for the USL, they're looking at the situation. They have a incredibly successful Louisville City down the road, and racing Louisville at the NWSL level is incredible, right? It may not be winning the games now, but the fan support, the passion is there. You have FC Cincinnati just to the north of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are hours away from Lexington, who's centrally located between these two cities, right? So there's clearly a huge population of soccer-minded people. It's just that I think the boat is already gone, right? People who lived in Lexington who want to support racing are going to drive to Louisville for a racing match. People in Lexington, there's a supporter group for FC Cincinnati in Lexington.
Yeah.
And it's not small. It's, it's 80 members, right? These people will drive all the way up for that. So I hope for the best for them. I think they can do it. It's once the summer, we haven't even seen a summer yet in the new stadium. So once you get the summer months, once all the noise for collegiate sports dies down, you got this nice warm summer months, and you got they were doing like $1 beer nights. It was like $5 tickets for USL championship level. And then even the USL 2 games are free. Yeah. So like you have the opportunity. It's a gorgeous stadium. It rivals Louisville Stadium. It's an amazing stadium that has the opportunity to expand to a Louisville size stadium. But for right now, they don't have it. So
you make me want to travel. To watch Fort Wayne FC play in Lexington the next opportunity I get.
Oh, you definitely need to. It's gorgeous, and it's right off the highway where nothing else is. So
nice.
Be able to get right in, right out.
Right out.
Well, so here's the thing, right? You can always hope soccer continues to grow here in the States. We're going to get rivalry matches as teams continue to as cities continue to build teams closer and closer together. So with a team like Lexington, between Louisville and Cincinnati, you're going to see some rivalries, not necessarily at the same, MLS, USL Championship, USL 2 levels. But as teams continue to build, you're going to see more of that. And I, for one, appreciate that, right? As an MLS fan, talk about Hell is Real, the Columbus-Cincinnati match, Indianapolis potentially getting an MLS team at some point, whether that's Indy 11 or rumors flying this last year that it might be another new MLS team, whatever. To see those rivalries build, to see what's happening in USL 2 and the rivalries as they move into USL 1, USL Championship, USL Division 1, when they put that in place in a couple of years, to see what can develop at this level. And then again, we joked about promotion relegation, but that is coming, and I believe in 2028 at the USL level, to see how these rivalries shift and change, even regionally, as teams they get promoted from one league to the next or get relegated from one league to the next. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited what Lexington is doing. I wish them all the best with their new stadium, with their championship team, USL championship team, their USL 2 team. I hope it's a good match. You talk about the style of play. We've seen good things from our outside backs here in Fort Wayne. They can handle the wing play, we hope, for the future, this matchup this next week. Justin, if I could put you on the spot for a moment and say, what's your pick? Who's going to win this game, and what would the score be? What would you say?
I think it's a similar result. I know that I said off of your question earlier that I think it was Dustin that asked me this. I look at the situation and I say, maybe the style is different, but I think the result is the same. I think it's going to be a 2-0 result for Fort Wayne, and Lexington will kind of hopefully pull up a chair and take notice, like take in the atmosphere, take in the experience, because that's how you do it, right? Hopefully there's a partnership there that they can grow together, lessons learned, shared values, those kind of things. So
man, we're out next year. We're USL 1, man. We're out. We're out. It's going to be a 1-year partnership, and we go.
You'll get the next level. You'll get promoted shortly thereafter. You'll be up there with Lexington SC's championship level. Well, they'll probably get So like you guys will probably get promoted and they'll probably get relegated. So maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to see what happens with that when that gets put into play. So, Justin, thanks for being here. Thanks for your insight on the league.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, for your insight on the league, your fandom of, from afar. I'm going to call you a Fort Wayne FC fan.
Yeah.
And you're
starting to stand.
Sure. Yeah. Fantastic. We'll have you up here sometime, maybe live on the show, or maybe we'll just catch a game together. We'd love to see you up here in Fort Wayne. Justin, thanks. And we'll probably talk tomorrow night. Cincinnati Soccer Talk. So, all right, man.
Thank you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was a fun interview. It's always
good
to have
it was
knowledgeable folks here on the show.
To know like what's going on and like what to expect this weekend. And I knew nothing about Lexington, so that's good to know.
Yeah. That's my hope this year, that we can get some guests from other cities that can tell us a little bit about their teams, a little bit about their history. And I just think it builds not just a fandom of the game that's in front of us, like on a Saturday night that we go and watch, but an understanding of the culture of soccer in our city, understanding of the culture of soccer in other cities that we play, and what they're bringing to our town and what we can take to their town. I do hope partnerships can develop and all of that, like Justin was saying. So great interview. I'm excited Justin can be here. Maybe we'll have him back on the show later. But there was another match that was happening here in Fort Wayne that we would be remiss if we did not mention and did not talk about. 1927 SC played at Fort Wayne Sport Club last night against Grand Rapids SC, who came to town. Dustin, you were there.
Yeah.
Take the lead, man. Tell us what you saw, what you experienced as a fan, what you saw on the field, who you talked to, the sights and sounds of a 1927 SC match.
Yeah, so I took my two boys to the game last night. Can't beat $5 entry fee to go to a game and see good play. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, we had Dave on here, two podcasts ago, kind of talking about 1927. Saw him at the game, talked to him briefly a little bit about it. They played last week and lost, struggled to score, and so he was in the first half. We were talking a little bit and just hoping that we could get at least one goal out of them at some point. The pace of the play, the game was very, in all honesty, very comparable to what I see when we go to Fort Wayne FC. I wouldn't say the exact same, but I just think these guys in amateur or semi-pro leagues have the drive and have just the gumption to want to win, to play hard. And that's what you saw. It was fast pace. It was physical. I mean, it was super, super physical. My boys even said that. They were talking about it and they're like, you could hear, I mean, you're really close to the field at the sport club. So you're right there. So there's nothing that does not get heard from a fan perspective. So my boys heard it all. No, it was
a lot
good.
Of fun language. Was there a lot of fun language?
Yeah, there was. My youngest thought it was hilarious. It was fun. The atmosphere was great. I mean, it was a little chilly out last night, so the weather didn't really help in relationship to getting people out there. But those that were there's a lot of committed fans. There's a lot of fans that know the boys that were yelling for them. We stood down on the second half. We stood on the fence row and we're right next to, I think it was Senior. I think is what Dave called him. And he was very, very loud and very vocal. My kids thought it was awesome.
And that's where most of the fans, I think, is what he said. They stand along the fence line, not necessarily in the stands. Was that true of your experience?
Yeah, it was. There were some that were on the out kind of like by the road, and then the ones that were inside. Yeah, the fence row was pretty packed for sure. But no, it was great. I mean, it's smaller crowd, so you can kind of get to know them. I was telling you guys earlier, we were sitting there, and my son was like, "That's his dad." There was a family sitting in front of us, and one of the kids yelled, "Hey, Dad!" And so awesome. Started talking to started talking to them and ended up being the goal scorer's wife and family that were sitting there. So Keaton Albert's wife was sitting in front of us. He's the one that ended up scoring the goal in the 94th minute to win 1-0.
Walk-off goal.
It was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing. I mean, you sit there for 93 minutes and see kind of a lot of a good play, but nothing to come of it. Had a lot of shots on goal. Both teams kind of had some shots on goal, but just couldn't get it in the net. And then to watch that happen was pretty awesome. And his family was super nice, super sweet. So it's just kind of cool to be able to go to a game, meet some of the family that's just sitting in the stands with you, there was a lot of other kids that were there because it was you wear your sport club jersey, get in free night. And so honestly, great experience. I have nothing but positives to say about it. Felt like it was fun to watch. Again, good pace of play. Just to kind of get outside and experience something different where maybe you're not shoulder to shoulder with people in a stadium was kind of fun to experience. Highly
How great would it be if we could get that?
It would be awesome.
Those games, some of these rivalry matchups that are coming.
Yeah, because
Goshen City SC, I believe, is a new one. It would be fun when they come to town to get some folks out there. You did mention, Dave, when he was on earlier, also talked about getting younger teams out there from Sport Club, from Fort Wayne United, just some teams out there to watch the guys play, to give them a picture of this could be you. So there's two things in that. Like this was State Cup weekend, which we'll talk a little bit about in here in a few minutes. So there was a lot of teams out of town that couldn't be there that night. But also there was just some of the guys that are on the team have recently played at our local clubs, Fort Wayne United, Fort Wayne Sport Club. Landon Wells just signed. He's a year older than my son. He's a 2008 player who I believe is playing with the Midwest United and MLS next, I believe, but signed with Fort Wayne FC for the summer. I may have some of those details wrong. I will check that. But good kid, young kid out there playing with 1927. It's just fun to see some of these young players out there. You did mention something, and I want to toss it to Autumn here for just a question. You mentioned the physicality of the game. I was having a conversation with the parent on the sideline of our game this last weekend, and how the game has totally changed from when we were in high school and when we played. And you get touched, you get bumped. It was a foul. Like it was soccer was not a physical game then. Autumn, in your time playing, how have you seen the game change just in that little bit? Because you're quite a bit younger than Dustin and I. Has it always been a really physical, knockdown, drag out game that we see sometimes now on the field that refs just let it go? Refs just let it play.
I would say during my playing days, for sure, there were games that got really physical. That you're sitting here as a player going, if you don't call this game, it's going to get out of control. Very, very different. But I think even now as a coach, I see it, and it's like I even see the difference, and I'm not that far removed, right, from my playing days. And it's like, that's a short time for this game to get even more physical than it was 5 years ago. And so definitely seeing that trend into more of a physicality game for sure. But it was physical back then for sure.
So I've always had this thought that women's soccer is just straight up rougher and tougher than men's soccer. So would you say that about the women's game has changed, the men's game has changed, or just in general? Because I watched, man, when I was in high school watching my female friends play, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to face you. Like when we played co-ed and there were girls on the other team, like they were throwing us around like crazy. Like women's soccer seems like it's always been a little bit more physical than men's soccer. Would you say that, as a women's soccer player, I think you played on some men's teams. Is that right?
I did.
Yeah. So would you say that's...
Yeah, I would 100%. So I'll just give a little quick backstory. I did play on a boys team growing up. And the physicality has changed over the years. And so when I first played with those boys, I had to be tough. I was the only girl. I had to fight my way. I had to hang with them. I had to prove something, right? I was a girl playing on their field. And so when I had to go to, because I played on two teams that year. I played for the boys team and the women's team. And so when I went from one game with the boys to the girls, I got called every single time because it was too rough of a play is what I got called on. And I was like, I'm just playing soccer over here. But as the years have gone, I think, yes, 100%. I think women have become more physical. I mean, 1 minute it's casual and the next thing it's not casual anymore. You're roughing and toughing out there. And so I think we're going to continue to see, obviously see that. But yeah, I would say female sports are a little bit more rough or tougher these days.
Yeah.
Well, you look at the U.S. women's national team just when they play, like, and playing Brazil, and you see Brazil, U.S. playing in women's soccer. I mean, it's like cutthroat out there.
It is.
It's physical like no other. So it's not necessarily always like, there are some times when the U.S. men will be like that, but it's way more on the women's side.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think you're seeing the physicality in the younger ages, right? This whole thing started with 1927, this amateur team that has some men's, has some younger players on it. You're seeing the physicality, I think, because of the awareness of world soccer, like what's happening in world football, as people watch higher leagues and see the physicality and the different styles of play and how it translates here in the United States to the leagues that we see. We weren't watching soccer a lot. It wasn't on when I was in high school. Like 1994, when the World Cup was in the United States, I was like, oh, we get to watch some soccer. This is cool.
Yeah.
And then it was over. Like, we didn't get to see much unless you had an MLS team locally when they started in 96, and we just didn't. So I didn't watch it a whole lot. But now, as more soccer is broadcast on different channels and different places, like, we're seeing the physicality, and it's translating to the younger ages. And it's just different. It's just different. Justin Blair is back in the comments saying women's soccer is 1,000 times rougher, 100%, 1,000 times rougher than men's soccer. And Micah is back home. Micah, welcome. He's commenting here. Women's soccer's played in smaller spaces, which invites more physical play. Like, yeah, no doubt. Maybe we'll talk about that on another show. I think that's an interesting insight that we could get into. We're getting close to the end of our show. There's still a few things we want to talk about. Just briefly, we'll blow through a couple things. I want to get to some of our extra time thoughts here. Upcoming soccer here in Fort Wayne FC. We mentioned travels to Lexington SC. If you're just joining us on the program tonight, make sure you go back and listen to our segment we just did with Justin Blair to give us a little bit of background on Lexington, their history, the soccer in their city, and what we can expect to see this weekend as Fort Wayne FC travels to Lexington. And then 1927, we just talked about, they're actually rolling into a week off. And so it's going to be a couple weeks before they resume play on May 31st at Goshen City FC, which is going to be a new rival for them, just about an hour up the road from here in Fort Wayne. So excited to see that. I did want to mention State Cup, because there was a lot of teams in Indianapolis in State Cup. Fort Wayne Sport Club, I believe, had 22 teams in State Cup, President's Cup, and Challenge Cup across the board. So men's, women's, boys, girls, U13, I think, up to U18, or U11 up to U18. Fort Wayne United, I believe, had 20 teams. So in total, from my best count, Fort Wayne had 42 teams competing at the youth level at State, President, or Challenge Cup, which is pretty awesome to see in a town like Fort Wayne. And this is, again, one of the reasons I wanted to do Fort Wayne Footy, is just to talk about all the good soccer that's happening from the youth ages on up to what will eventually be pro. And I wanted to highlight this real quick, because my son is a 2009. He plays in the 2009 bracket. Fort Wayne Sport Club, where he plays, had a team down there. Fort Wayne United had a team down there in that same bracket. Let me tell you how tight these games were, guys. All right. Is neither Fort Wayne United nor Fort Wayne Sport Club advanced, unfortunately, in State Cup to the semifinals. But here's what happened. The team Echo Premier advanced with a 1-0-1 record. We played 2 games, three teams in each bracket. They advanced with a 1-0-1 record. St. Francis Premier from Indianapolis advanced in their bracket with a 1-0-1 record. Zionsville advanced with a 1-1-0 record. So 1 win, 1 loss. They advanced. I believe that's the team that Fort Wayne United was in a bracket with and actually beat Ziza in their opening match. But they advanced on goals scored because they all had the same goal differential. They went to about the 4th tiebreaker to get Ziza advancing. And then Indy 11 Academy was in the bracket where we played, Fort Wayne Sport Club played, and they advanced with a 1-0-1 record. Like, that's how tight soccer in the state of Indiana is. And Fort Wayne had 2 teams right in the mix of that ended with the same record as the teams that advanced out of their brackets did. They just didn't have as many goal differential or as many goals scored, which was, it was a fun weekend of soccer. It was an intense weekend of soccer. And it was just fun to watch. Fort Wayne's in the mix of soccer here in the state, and I'm excited of how it's continuing to be developed here. That said, we're going to move into our extra time thoughts. And Dustin, I want you to kick us off with your extra time thought as it relates to youth soccer and some of the stuff we just talked about.
Yeah, no. So I was just going to say, and this is, I mean, I think we've all been there as parents where we can get into games. We can get into games. We can get intense, those kinds of things. But this weekend was crazy. We were in Middlebury, Indiana, playing my son who plays on the U9 team. They play in the U10 division. And we were playing a team that was a U9 team. And the parents from the whistle to the whistle did not stop. They didn't let off their kids. They didn't let off the ref. The kids were on the ref. I mean, it was crazy. I was telling you guys earlier, there was one kid, I think it was Enrique, and I texted my wife. I was coaching. I texted her from the sideline, and I was like, Enrique better get his crap together because his dad is on his butt the entire game. So it's one of those things where it's like, these kids are 8. These kids are 8, 9 years old. Like, let's let them play. We had decided as coaches, this was our last weekend. We're like, we're not saying anything at this point. If they've not learned, if they don't know what to do, they got to make mistakes. And it was just like that team could not make a mistake. Their goalie was crying at one point because their coach was screaming at him. I mean, it was intense. I was like, we've got to. I mean, I love that soccer is getting elevated, but like, let's tone down the parent coaching from the sidelines aspect, which I love about Sport Club because we don't do that. So but I mean, we're not supposed to do that.
It happens everywhere, right?
Yeah,
as much as you talk about not doing it and we shouldn't do it, it happens. Then I say that I'm guilty of that too.
We've all done it. I
try and be positive with my kid and the team, and I know the style of play. I know the coach. I've coached the game. I know the game. I'm trying to coach them up from the other side, right? Anyway, I'm guilty of it too. Justin's back in the chat.
I know.
About that.
Like, hey, you know what? Enrique may be some like MLS player or EPL player someday. Sure. You never know.
Maybe so. Autumn, as a coach, have you ever dealt with that?
No, I was telling you guys, like, honestly, no, I'm gonna regret saying this, and probably by fall, right? But I've had wonderful parents, honestly. Like, in my 6 years of coaching.
Don't regret saying you've had wonderful parents. That's fantastic.
I know. Like, I've gotten lucky as a coach where I didn't have to go talk to parents afterwards and be like, okay, the ref came up to me, said you were out of control. Let's figure this out, right? Yeah. It's a U10 game or whatever. No, I've had great parents. It's been amazing.
Yeah. I want to piggyback on your extra time thought here, because we played a match this weekend where there was a gentleman from the opposing team.
Was it Enrique's dad?
It wasn't Enrique's dad. I don't think. I forget. I think it was Mario. I think he was yelling at Mario on the field. And listen, if you're listening to the show now or watching the show live, you've likely been to a youth sporting event. Basketball, soccer, probably soccer, hopefully soccer. You know how it works. You park your chair, across the side, across the field from where your team is positioned, right? And you watch from there, you cheer them on. Sometimes you coach from the sidelines. Sometimes you yell at the ref. Please don't yell at the ref. Refs don't like that. And you know what? I've never seen a referee overturn a call because a parent yelled at them. So it doesn't help. Players come off the field and go, oh, parents are so annoying. Stop yelling. We can handle ourselves, right? That's how it goes, right? But anyway, I going on a tangent here. Let me tell you about this gentleman that was on our sideline this week. He was yelling at his son, coaching his son, and he was pacing the entire sideline, saying, you know how the AR stays even or supposed to stay even with the last defender so they can catch off sides. Like this guy was saying even with his son. I imagine it was his son because he was just moving up and down the sideline, right? And we were defending the second half most of the second half. And so, which means he was behind our parents most of the game, which you can imagine doesn't always go well. I am pretty mild-mannered on the sideline. I've been called the moral conscience of our team on the sideline that just tries to stay calm, keep people calm. But this guy was just getting to me. I didn't explode. I didn't do anything. I just slowly backed away from our parents and tried to stand in his walking path so that he would at least stop or go around me. I was about twice the guy's size, and it didn't really do much. It didn't really stop. So at the end of the game, I hate to admit this. At the end of the game, I decided, you know what? The guy's not getting the hint. I'm going to go hang out behind their parents. Oh, jeez. Which was fine, right? Because nothing was happening. It was a 0-0 game. It was intense. The ball was at the other end. The game goes into extra time. 2 minutes after my watch goes off, I'm down behind their parents, and we end up scoring a goal. We play 80 minutes. It was like the 82nd or 83rd minute, and we scored, and I lost my mind because that's exciting, right? When you score at the end of a game. And I got a bunch of dirty looks from parents down there. And I'll tell you what, in the moment, it felt fantastic. But then I walked back to our sideline and went, what did I just do? I'm no better than this guy that's been pacing our sideline, right? Yeah, as good as it might feel to coach your kid, to yell at your kid, to yell at a ref from the sidelines, to get back at another team that might be pacing the sidelines and you do the same thing and you get to celebrate and cheer, like it felt great. But seriously, parents, myself included, like, let's let the kids play. Let's let the kids do their thing. Let's let the kids enjoy the game. Us yelling at them is not helping. I'll tell you, as a player, maybe you guys say the same thing. When my dad or my mom yelled from the sideline, usually didn't know what they were talking about, right? And I was like, please stop. That's what we're doing to our kids. Yeah. They're coming off the field going, please stop. So
stop and stay on your side of the field as parents.
Yes. Basically. Even if someone wanders your sideline the whole time, just don't go like I did. Don't be me. Don't be me. I enjoyed it, but don't be me. I'm never going to do it again. I'm confessing here on the show. That's what this whole segment was about. So, Autumn, you got anything on a positive note to wrap us up?
No, I don't.
Speechless. I love it. Well, guys, State Cup, we're moving on. There's some teams from Fort Wayne that are still in it, I believe.
U15 United, I know, made it in, so they're in the semifinals. So congrats to them.
Yep, fantastic. We're going to cheer on our teams from Fort Wayne to see how far they can make it in State Cup. We're going to cheer them from the sidelines, and we're not going to coach. We're not going to yell. We're not going to scream. We're just going to celebrate. And here we go. Thanks for joining us on this episode that went off the rails of Fort Wayne Footy. You're here at the end. Join us next week for episode 5.